He is Shane Lachlan Black, the internet's original stunt writer.
Sorry about your boyfriend. All those muscles didn't help much.
Hey, Generation X, listen up. Nobody ever talks about us, but that doesn't mean we can't talk to each other. I want to tell you some things, and if other generations want to listen in, then I'd like to welcome them on our behalf. If you're under the age of 45 and you listen real careful, you just might learn something. Our generation is unique in American history. We took the transition to a post-employment society right in the teeth. Almost all of us were in our 30s when the bridge to the American dream was dynamited. That was followed by a sharp shock to the ribs in the form of the housing crash, a wooden club to the knees when the dating market ended, and a final uppercut when inflation took care of the rest. The fact any of us are still standing is a testament to the values we were raised with. But we didn't emerge from all that wreckage with no advantages. On the contrary, we have experiences that no other generation will ever have again. Even if we didn't know it at the time, we were blessed because we were the last to leave when America closed and we were all herded elsewhere. I'll state it plain. We have the best music ever recorded. Full stop. Between rock, metal, punk, Motown, funk, disco. Yeah, I said it. Take a look at how many kids are listening to the Bee Gees. New wave and some of the most bizarre and creative tracks ever imagined. Shout out to Thomas Dolby and Murray Head. We never knew how much we needed you guys. We grew up in a world of sound that was paradise compared to anything else. Then we could turn to movies. Go look at a list of the films released in just 1984. Just look at it. Then look at the list of films in theaters now. I don't have to say a word about the difference. Then there's animation. We got to see first-run cartoons and animated features no Hollywood slop factory could make today at any price. If you're a Southern California kid, you'll likely remember what Disneyland was like in the 80s. You'll also remember Universal Studios and Knott's Berry Farm and Magic Mountain. You might even remember Marineland and SeaWorld and even the Lion Country Safari. Every single one of those destinations was never more than an hour or so away from the time I was old enough to change television channels, asked her dad, until half of them closed and the other half turned into minimum effort reverse ATMs. SoCal kids also grew up within driving distance of some of the most famous beaches on Earth. And let's not forget, we were the first generation introduced to tabletop role-playing games. My father handed me the basic Dungeons & Dragons set when I was about 15. That was right before he passed away. It was an almost poetic handing over of the sword from one author to another. One could almost hear Jonathan Winters. Take what I've done, boy, and make it better. Then there's video games. We were the first generation of kids to have video games in our own houses. Arcade games showed up at pizza places, grocery stores, amusement parks, and anywhere else there happened to be an outlet in an empty space. I defy any game developer now to make something with the raw entertainment value of Food Fight or Mappy or Gauntlet. It's not that they aren't talented, they simply lack what we got without even knowing it. For the time being, I'll leave aside the fact we also grew up with Star Wars, Star Trek, The Twilight Zone, Battlestar Galactica, Indiana Jones, The Ghostbusters, The A-Team, and Knight Rider. We all lived in a world of imagination. Why, you might even call it an imagination nation. Now we stand at a crossroads. In one direction you see no colors, and you won't find them even if you look. It's the fantasy world envisioned by people who hold spreadsheets sacred. There's no joy, there's no laughter. In fact, even the population of children is starting to dwindle. Not surprising since they already closed all the toy stores. I guarantee every one of you still remembers the Sears Christmas catalog. And Santa Claus riding a Norelco Razor like a snowmobile, that's all gone now. And it wasn't accidental. It's a barren, godless place with a stark, painfully bright sun that provides no warmth. Only a cold, lonely road that leads nowhere. Nobody wants to go there. That's why you feel like you're being coerced all the time. But you see, we're Generation X. We remember a sky with color and warmth. We remember climbing aboard our bikes with no clear destination. We remember turning on a radio and hearing our favorite song. Believe it or not, we did have favorite songs. They were numerous, they were memorable, and they were the soundtrack of a time that nobody else will ever experience again. Some of us have wandered away from the crowd, being herded into the desaturation machine. We thought we heard laughter. We thought we heard music. One or two of us might have caught the scent of good food. We saw flashes of color. It's right over there. It's not far. Maybe someone remembered what it was like to be a human again, even just for a few minutes. But there's something astonishing about the short journey we all have the option to take here. When we get there, we're not going to find that someone did it for us. We're going to find each other. Nobody talks about Generation X. They never have. We were left alone for the most part, even by our parents. But that doesn't mean we didn't find ways to escape into a world where we did matter and we weren't being ignored. We love those imaginary places because that's where we belonged. The really good news is we can have that again. In fact, we can offer it as a gift to the people around us now who never got to experience it the first time around. Maybe they'll listen, maybe they won't. But if they don't, it won't surprise us. We still have somewhere to belong. Now, I'm an author. I create imaginative worlds for a living now. I inherited considerable wisdom and not a small amount of talent from my parents, both of whom were stellar journalists. I wasn't able to take my talent into journalism because for some reason our society decided to do away with the news about the same time it decided none of us needed jobs or a date anymore. I'm not the only talented member of my generation. Almost all of you encountered the same things I did, which is why I'm going to offer you some encouragement in the form of a solution to a problem we all face. Now, we're not going to find a trap door and Lidsville our way out of this. We're going to have to build it, and we're going to have to go about this expeditiously because there's nobody left who remembers a world full of color and music and plenty anymore. One or more of you are going to have to band together and build a new theme park. Yeah, it sounds impossible, but then again, so is getting a job interview. Now, what do you rather do all day? One of you is going to have to start a band. My advice? Write one love song that doesn't make people want to extract their own teeth with a pair of pliers. That one creative act just might set off the tectonic shift that wakes the rest of us up out of the and no laughing stasis field. At this point, writing one earnest love song would be the most anti-slop act of pure subversion human beings have seen since we were introduced to the meal deal where we have to drop $25 for a half bag of chips and a sandwich. Who knows? Maybe someone will listen to that song and remember what it was like to be in love. Goodness knows they're not going to be reminded anywhere else. How about some of you guys get together and build us one video game that isn't a DLC choked religious movement dressed up as unpaid employment? Make a game that was as much fun as Galaga, or Outrun, or Kung Fu. You know, those games did pretty well without the atrocious writing and awful cinematics. You know, I fired up Hearthstone the other day and I thought I had wandered into a real estate seminar. I had to hold my head with both hands to keep from inadvertently screaming and running from the building. By the way, while we're talking about video games, one of you needs to restore one arcade classic cabinet. Put a card reader on it so Dad can buy an hour of credits with a tap while the kids are running in circles around the restaurant. And put a pinball machine right next to it, same equipment. You won't believe the numbers. If you're looking for a side business, make some comics. You know, comics and social media go together like peanut butter and chocolate. It is astonishing to me that nobody has figured this out yet. Charles Schultz would have ruled the internet if he had a Facebook account. I ran the largest English language webcomic network on Earth back in the day. I'll tell you stories about engagement and viewer metrics that will turn your hair white. This was back when Twitter spent half its time displaying pictures of whales. Make a new Dungeons & Dragons. Then don't try to grab it away from people after they start to like it. We need musicians, chefs, roller coaster engineers, game developers, authors, actors, painters, sculptors, dancers, and stunt performers, and we needed them 20 years ago. You certainly aren't going to find much competition. What you are going to find is a simple truth, because other generations don't know who we are. But that doesn't mean we've forgotten ourselves. We can still quote Bugs Bunny, despite the fact most millennials wouldn't know Bugs Bunny if you landed on their windshield. Generation X was raised by some of the funniest and most talented human beings who have ever walked this earth. I've already invoked Jonathan Winters. We were the first to laugh at Robin Williams. We grew up with Johnny Carson. Those of us who didn't always observe our appointed time to retire for the night were treated to the most comprehensive education and comedic timing ever offered under heaven. If we missed every episode of The Tonight Show, except those with Don Rickles, Rodney Dangerfield, and Carol Burnett, we still experienced world-class talent every night at 11:30 p.m. for years on end. Shout out to Mike Stoklasa while we're at it. God bless you, Red Letter Media. Even they can remind us you may not have noticed what you were learning, but you learn a lot more than you think. You don't have to go looking for it because it's already part of you. Go make something. Go create a job. In fact, make two and give one to your neighbor. Take what you were given and make sure others can share it. All you have to do is look around to see how badly it's needed. Blackout.
Shane Lachlan Black.